We, the members of the Polk County Sheriff's Office, are committed to excellence in providing law enforcement, detention, and public safety services. In partnership with our community, we will serve with integrity, compassion, accountability, and professionalism.
January 9, 2024. Polk Sheriff's HIDTA Task Force, working with other local, state, and federal agencies, bust 2 drug trafficking organizations in December and January. Multi-kilos of fentanyl and cocaine seized. Polk County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida HIDTA, High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force detectives, working with other local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, successfully concluded 2 drug trafficking investigations involving Central Florida-based drug trafficking organizations. Both investigations resulted in the arrest of 10 men and 1 woman who were involved in trafficking multiple kilos of fentanyl and cocaine. A total of 14 kilos of cocaine and 3.5 kilos of bulk fentanyl and fentanyl pills were seized, along with 4 firearms, a vehicle, and $12,985 U.S. currency. The investigations were conducted with the assistance of the State Financial Assistance for Fentanyl Eradication, S.A.F.E., Florida program managed by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. In 2023, the Florida legislature established state funding for the S.A.F.E. program to conduct investigations designed to combat illegal fentanyl trafficking. The grant provides financial support and assistance for approved fentanyl-related investigative costs, such as overtime, travel, investigative supplies, and equipment, and training. The following agencies were involved with the investigations: Polk County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida HIDTA, High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force, Winter Haven Police Department, 10th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office, Brian Haas, State Attorney, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE, Florida Attorney General's Office, Attorney General Ashley Moody, Federal Bureau of Investigations, FBI, U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and the United States Attorney for the Middle District of Florida, Roger B. Handberg. Department of Justice. I'm proud of our detectives and partner agencies, who worked hard to remove 17.5 kilos of destructive drugs off the streets. We are all working together to fight fentanyl, which is killing people by the thousands in the U.S. because of drug overdoses. These drug traffickers are destroying lives, families, and communities. These drugs go hand in hand with violence and misery in our communities. Grady Judd, Sheriff, Polk County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida HIDTA, High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force detectives, working with other local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, successfully concluded a drug trafficking investigation involving a Central Florida-based drug trafficking organization. Undercover detectives identified 56-year-old Pedro Luis Bimba Romero of Kissimmee. Romero was believed to be involved in the sale of multiple kilos of cocaine. Romero has a criminal history that included robbery, trafficking in cocaine, other narcotics violations related to MDMA and cocaine, and federal narcotic violations that resulted in Romero being incarcerated in federal prison for 80 months. Detectives arranged to buy a kilo of cocaine from Romero in Haines City in November of 2023. Romero brought his drug supplier, 44-year-old Maximo Espinosa of Kissimmee, with him to the drug transaction. Further investigation revealed that Espinosa was operating a drug trafficking organization operating between the Northeast United States, South Florida, Puerto Rico, and Mexico, trafficking kilo amounts of cocaine and fentanyl. Espinosa had previously been arrested federally for armed trafficking in heroin. 2 other meetings were arranged in December where the undercover detective received a sample of fentanyl and then purchased a kilo of fentanyl from Espinosa. Another transaction for larger amounts of both cocaine and fentanyl was arranged with Espinosa and Romero to take place on January 2, 2024, at a location in Haines City. On that date, detectives learned that Espinosa's contacts would travel to Polk County to provide the fentanyl. During the evening hours of January 2, 2024, an undercover detective met with Espinosa. He showed the detective 10 kilos of cocaine and 2 kilos of fentanyl in the trunk of his car. Polk County Sheriff's Office deputies, working with other agencies, took Espinosa into custody. A separate vehicle involved in the drug transaction contained 35-year-old Pedro Mejia of West Palm Beach and 22-year-old Pedro Olivares of Wimauma, the fentanyl suppliers. During the arrests, a white BMW fled the area, physically striking one of the undercover deputy's leg. The deputy was later transported to the hospital, was treated and cleared with no serious injury. The fleeing BMW was tracked visually through the use of aerial surveillance, which directed law enforcement vehicles and members to unincorporated Winter Haven, where law enforcement strategically moved vehicles into position. The fleeing BMW was immobilized with minimal damage. The driver, 34-year-old Omar Velaz of West Palm Beach, was taken into custody without further incident. Detectives later determined that Velaz and Mejia are on federal probation for trafficking narcotics. Detectives believe Romero was in the area of the drug transaction and fled the area undetected. Romero was later arrested by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and booked into the Polk County Jail. Law enforcement agencies involved in the investigation are Polk County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida HIDTA, High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, Task Force, Winter Haven Police Department, 10th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office, Brian Haas, State Attorney, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Florida Attorney General's Office, Attorney General Ashley Moody, Federal Bureau of Investigations, U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, and the United States Attorney for the Middle District of Florida, Roger B. Handberg. Department of Justice. Maximo Espinosa was taken into federal custody where he faces drug trafficking charges. Velaz, Mejia, and Olivares were charged and booked into the Polk County Jail. Romero was later arrested and booked into the Polk County Jail. As a result of the investigation, detectives seized 12 kilograms of cocaine, 3.5 kilograms fentanyl powder and fentanyl pills, 2 firearms, a vehicle, and $4,450 in U.S. currency. Those arrested are Maximo Espinosa, 1727 King Philip Drive, Kissimmee, FL, 44. Federal drug trafficking charges expected. Please direct questions to the Office of the United States Attorney. For the Middle District of Florida, Roger B. Handberg, Department of Justice. Criminal history. Assault with intent to commit physical injury to officer, felony. Disorderly conduct, misdemeanor. Menacing, felony, 1996, New York. Criminal possession of a narcotic, felony. Criminal sale of a narcotic, felony. Intent to sell narcotic, felony, 1997, New York. Criminal use of facility, felony. Drug conspiracy, felony. Possession of a firearm, felony. Dealing/receiving stolen property, felony, 2001/2007, Pennsylvania. Possession with intent to distribute heroin, felony. Possession of firearms/trafficking in heroin, felony. Convicted felon in possession of a firearm, felony. Narcotic violation X11, misdemeanors, 2009 Pennsylvania. Charged federally and on federal probation. A total of 14 felonies, 12 misdemeanors. Omar Velaz, Jr., 5345, Bunkie Court, West Palm Beach, Florida, 3341534. Trafficking in fentanyl, over 28 grams. Possession of drug paraphernalia. Aggravated battery on Leo. Resisting officer with violence. Resisting officer without violence. Fleeing to elude. Criminal history. Battery, misdemeanor. Carrying concealed weapon X3, felony. Possession of drug paraphernalia X6, misdemeanor. Possession of cannabis X8, misdemeanor. Possession of cocaine X3, felony. Possession of short-barreled shotgun/rifle, felony. Possession of cannabis over 20 grams, felony. Possession of cocaine with intent to sell, felony.
Equality before the law, also known as equality under the law. Equality in the eyes of the law, legal equality, or legal egalitarianism, is the principle that all people must be equally protected by the law. The rule of law is a political ideal that all citizens and institutions within a country, state, or community are accountable to the same laws, including lawmakers and leaders. It is sometimes stated simply as no one is above the law.